Good evening and welcome to the People's Platform. There's a saying that democracy dies in darkness. So in a world that is in a war of narratives, where the truth is more urgent now more than ever before, how do we and how must we make the truth stick? To find out, we've invited to our studio Professor Zhang Yanchu. She works as the Deputy Dean of the Institute for a Community with a Shared Future at the Communication University of China. Good evening and welcome, Professor.
Good evening.
Good to have you here in the studio.
Too.
And good to have you here in Sri Lanka.
Yeah, it's my first visit.
Okay, great.
Very
How
impressive.
Has it been?
It's very impressive. I've been looking forward to visit this country for a long time, because I have a lot of students from Sri Lanka. They study in China in my university, and they talk a lot about Sri Lanka, and that's very impressive. And then I visited finally.
All right, fantastic. Good to have you here. Professor, you've written extensively on the editorial policy of going beyond sensationalized journalism and looking into the solutions in your words. If you could give us some insight as to what constructive journalism entails and why it is important for us.
Yeah. So, I'm very glad that I have this opportunity to share my understandings about constructive journalism. Because as we know that traditional journalism, especially the more liberal media system, they talk a lot about the watchdog journalism and investigative journalism, which means the news media focus a lot on the negative stories, on the disasters, on the problems, on the challenges or crimes, which make a good story. Then people like to watch that. But at the same time, we find out those kind of reporting, they just focus on the current news or focus on the problems. They create a lot of a negative mentality of the people and make people feel they're not confident in the society. And so now there are a group of researchers, we started to talk about constructive journalism that is quite similar like a solution journalism, which focuses on the solution. It's a solution oriented, which means we're not only telling the story, the problems, but also try to tell what we can do. And what about those sectors they involved? They can contribute to the issue, make the issue be solved, like poverty issues, like rural development issues, like health issues. So I think constructive journalism is really a new paradigm for media to reconsider their, news production model.
Fantastic. Let's also speak a bit about the relationship between the three organs of government, for example, the executive, legislature, judiciary, and the media is now known as the fourth pillar. So there needs to be a balanced relationship between the state or the government and the media itself. A positive relationship in a proper ecosystem. Speak to us about the importance of this.
I think traditionally there's such a stereotype. We think media should always watch the government, and the government always, try to press the media, or the relationship between the media and government are not that friendly. But, under the constructive journalism, I think we have to redesign the relationship between the media and government. Media can watch the government under the democratic system. That's no problem. But at the same time, what media can contribute to the country's development and to improve the people's life. I think that is a dream for every media person when they receive the higher education for journalism and communication. But do you think all of them, they fulfill their dream in the media? They watch the government, but what their contribution to the social, to the national development? So that's a big, opportunity for the media to contribute. So if you follow the constructive journalism, media can play a very constructive role instead of just watching the media, exposing the problems, the corruption, and they can do something which the people, they benefit. For example, I just learned your TV station, you have a grassroots development campaign or initiative.
Yes, it's called Gammed.
Yeah, I was very excited to see that you made a very good grassroots experiment on constructive journalism, which means you are not only exposing the corruption, the problem, you go to the rural area, the most poorest, village, try to find out what their challenges and what media can do, and the media might organize the government, the local government, the private sectors, or the people, maybe the researchers, the universities, think tanks, together to discuss those issues, what we can do with that. So that is a totally a very excellent example for constructive journalism.
Absolutely. I think media can also play a pivotal role in bringing communities together, especially in a country like Sri Lanka, which has gone through a past which is regrettable in terms of the ethno-linguistic conflict that took place over 26 years. Bringing communities of different religions and ethnic backgrounds together, I think that media has a key role, a crucial role to play. How must that play out?
Yeah, media is a public, instrument. It's not only has a commercial, function, but also, media is a public, tool which may, work closely with the government to maintain the country, the national stability. So that's very, very important. And just like our family life, if the husband and the wife and the children, doctor-in-laws, they always quarrel with each other, disagree with each other, and life could not be, ideal. Yeah. So, media should play a very constructive role, working with the people and try to keep a good balance, relationship with the media. I think ethnic group is one good case. For example, different ethnic groups, they might have a different interest, or they have their different culture, and between them they might some conflicts, misunderstanding, but they also a lot of understanding and shared culture. So, for example, in China we have 56 ethnic groups, and the media play a very key role, try to unite those ethnic groups together. And especially one example during our national festival, that's our Spring Festival, for the Spring Festival Gala. And definitely their program, entertaining program, that to show how the unification of the different ethnic groups, they love each other, they support each other. And also, the media, like in China, they publicize a lot of Chinese government policy towards those ethnic groups, and how we, give them a special policy to support the children's education, to empower the farmers, for their farming, agriculture. I think media can play a very positive role. So it also should be the media's social responsibility to improve the understanding of the different ethnic groups.
Absolutely. Yeah. Professor, an informed citizenry is of paramount importance for the furtherance of democracy. One of your key areas of research is also media literacy. Yeah. So instilling media literacy in a country's citizenry is so important. How must the government ensure that this is done?
Media literacy, it is also highly promoted by UNESCO for many years, and also many countries promote such idea, media literacy. But now it is called media and information literacy. And why UNESCO promote this, media and information literacy project in many countries? We know a lot of Western countries and also developing countries, European countries, they also adopt this concept, media and information literacy, as their national policy, which is to empower the young people, the elderly people, and especially those digital, immigrants, and to be capable to use the media. So they are critical and also creative media users. They not only use the media for their personal benefit, but also for the, economic growth. So it's part of the digital project for the whole country, for the whole nation. So it's a literacy. You see, the government like to improve the literacy for the general, population. But it's time to improve the digital literacy or media literacy of the general people. I think that's also very important to build a better media environment.
Absolutely. I'd also like to talk about some of the negative aspects when we speak about the responsibilities of media. We also find that we live in an era of misinformation, disinformation, rabble rousing, causing divisions among people, which is very dangerous. How do we combat these trends?
I think combating the fake news is an international challenge, especially under the social media age. And everybody, they can speak up, they can publish anything they like. So how can make every social media users to be responsible one? That is a challenge. For me, I give lectures on combating social media related with news literacy. So on the one side is content regulation is necessary. I think it's a great universally. The other is to improve the media literacy or news literacy of the young people, especially for them to know what I should publish, what I should not publish, what I should share, what I should not share online. So that means media education, which is to empower the young people on their media literacy. It's so important. Many countries has adopted media literacy policy and education already, but I'm not sure the situation in Sri Lanka.
Let's speak a bit about the importance also of fact-checking. How all media houses need to have a system of fact-checking institutionally, but also how citizens themselves must be knowledgeable or aware enough to know whenever there's fake news, they should have the skill set to check so that they won't be fooled by fake news.
Verification of the fake news or verification of the news is it's a professional, practice for years for news organizations. For news media, you have to check the fact. And to such as double check the sources, and that is a necessary, that the must for the media professionals. But on this other side, on the social on the social media, it's a challenging for even for some social media companies that are not responsible for the content, so they leave the burden to the users. And that's why we stress the importance of the empowerment of the news literacy or media literacy or digital literacy of the general people or especially young people. And but at the same time, I think the education is important. Such as in the U.S., in Canada, in British, and in Australia, in some European countries, including in China, we have carried out different kind of media education for many years. So students, when they learn media literacy, news literacy, they know how to, verify the news. And for example, they have to double check the sources, or they go to the researchers, and they find out whether there's overloaded language, and whether there's a full. They have to tell the difference, the facts from opinion. So those are very basic skills. There's a curriculum, or there's some teaching materials on this.
Professor, I'd like to connect misinformation and disinformation to politics. We've seen how global superpowers have also used misinformation, disinformation, and technology to influence the way the world thinks, the way voters think. And this has been an alarming trend. Speak to us about this.
News media is it's not that simple. So we know news media is full of agenda setting. So news is it's not only always based on the facts. Sometimes politicians, even some media, they use misinformation and disinformation to mislead the people and with a hidden agenda. So that's we already know that. For example, there's a difference between misinformation and disinformation. Misinformation is the information itself is a wrong one, but it's spread without any
malintention.
Malice, damaging intention. But disinformation is different. The information itself is a false one, but people still continue to spread it. So that is for their either propaganda purpose, to make a profit, or to improve their party's influence, or to destroy their potential opponents' influence. So it is sort of a tool as a campaign, sort of a campaign. So I think that's why we have to educate the people to understand. Disinformation is an information war. It's part of the action of information war, and it is also part of we call it cognitive warfare.
Cognitive warfare.
So it is a kind of a measure used by some parties, by some country, by some media to make damage, or to damage the other country, the other party, the other company. So that is a serious problem. I think it related to media ethics, but also related to, it is cognitive warfare. It's there.
All right. We're going for a short commercial break. We'll be right back. Welcome back. We're in conversation with Professor Zhang Yangchu, Deputy Dean of the Institute for a Community with a Shared Future at the Communication University of China. Professor Zhang, we spoke about cognitive warfare. I have a related question for you. We see instances in Sri Lanka, but also across the world, of places where the law is being weaponized to undermine democracy. For example, there are certain laws that are most commonly used to stifle dissent, to stifle freedom of speech. For example, in Sri Lanka, we saw instances of the Prevention of Terrorism Act being used, the ICCPR Act being used. How dangerous is this for democracy?
So let's take internet for example. It seems that under the democracy system, or under the free expression, free media expression, and it seems that everybody can speak up on the internet. But as you know, that it creates a problem like fake news. And that's why online there are a lot of fake news. When we see there are so many online fake news, it's not only people make it for fun, but some very well-known, very well-made documentary and a very well-made, even news program, but it's very biased, and they are always like to express something and to criticize something else. So I regard it as kind of cognitive warfare, because they like to brainwash the others, and it seems that they can express a lot of criticism, but at the same time, why they criticize the other? For what purpose? So we have to be very careful over that. It's not always criticism. Media criticism means freedom, but especially for the media user, they have to be media literate to understand so many, very well-made documentary or news program or short video online. Who made them? For what content? Why those kind of voice could be heard, not the others? Why only, those group of people, they can express the others themselves, but not the others? I mean, it's just like international news media, it's the same. It's always the Western media, they talk and talk. But how about media from Sri Lanka to defend your country, or the third developing countries or third world to defend their country, to improve their country's, image? I think it also comes to the concept like a public diplomacy. I think media should also play a very key role to help the country to improve the general, image of the country. Yeah.
Let's talk about the situation in China,
Yes.
where the media is largely controlled and managed by the government of China. Do you think that is healthy for the Chinese economy, for freedom of expression, for people to share their own views and opinions?
Yeah. As a media researcher from China, I always give a lecture on this field on how to understand Chinese media.
Right.
But the fact is, China in the past 40 years developed very fast, and the country developed very fast, and we carry out the poverty eradication campaign, and nobody live under the poverty line now. So that's a big achievement of China. But the secret is Chinese media is not the so-called Western free media.
Right.
So if you just use one criteria to measure China, that you are not a free media, you are government control media, I think that's a too sort of a narrow-minded mindset to talk in that way. I will say the media in China work very constructively with the government, and one is to publicize the government's policy, and the other is to work closely with the government and for our national agenda. For example, I really believe that Chinese media are doing constructive journalism. Even we don't call that name, but we do the constructive journalism at different levels. So I think that's also part of the secret. China developed very fast because the media work with the government closely to support the government to maintain the the social stability.
Okay.
And that's very important for the whole country to develop. The other side is media play a very good link between the government and the people. So that's why nowadays, under the concept of media convergence, highly promoted by Chinese government, so almost all the government-owned media, they turn to be a media convergent, which means all the Chinese traditional media online. So they try to serve the people and to provide a lot of platforms for the people to express themselves. So I don't think they simply use the term whether it's a government controlled or not is a standard to measure Chinese media. I would like to use the term governance. Media work very closely in China for the good governance. Even nowadays, we talk about e-governance, smart city, and our digital project. So the media play a very key role and very active role in that direction. I should say, in the Western society or even in international society, there are a lot of misunderstanding for Chinese media. But the fact is, China developed very fast, and media play a very key role.
Okay. A government's take or stance on a certain topic isn't equivalent to the truth. The two can be different, which is why it's important to have a vibrant media, which is why it's important to have media outlets across the country. Don't you think this is of pivotal importance?
I should say, media always say we are telling the truth. It seems that telling the truth is the top standard for the media. But sometimes I think the problem is media just tell part of the truth, not the whole truth. For example, the critical media, they just tell the problems, the troubles, and the disasters. They are telling the truth, but only part of the truth. But how about the other part? How about the people they contribute and they make good contributions and they contribute to their country. They sacrifice themselves for the community, and there are some teachers. They help young children to develop. So when you mention about truth, it's also like a negative story, the truth of the negative things. What about the truth about the positive things? So it really matters for us to define the truth. So, but telling truth is important. But which part of the truth? And also, when we're telling truth, who will be responsible for the effect of the truth? So we talk about some concept like development journalism, peace journalism, like solution journalism, like participatory journalism, and constructive journalism. I think that's why I think it's time for media and the media researchers to expand our attention, our knowledge, our understanding of the media's role in the society.
As an academic, you are familiar with this concept of the dominant narrative. How important is it for us to question the dominant narrative, to ensure that we move beyond myth-making, which sometimes the media is guilty of, the media in collaboration with the government is guilty of at times?
It's really hard to say, how the media work with the government to which extent. I really want to come back to our, the constructive journalism as at the very beginning we mentioned, and like in your TV station, you do the rural grassroots, development initiative. So. I think you give a very good example to keep a good balance with the people concerned, the government, the researchers, maybe NGOs, and also the media. The media's role is not work as a policeman or a judge, but instead is a facilitator to continuously to watch one issue and to be responsible for the outcome of the reporting, instead of you are telling the truth and we'll finish the story and you go away and leave the people to struggling over there. So I think it's really time for us to revise, to rethink, to revisit the traditional news values or news practice.
All right, fantastic. Professor Zhang Yengchu, thank you so much for being a part of this show.
Yeah, my pleasure.
And I hope you enjoy the rest of your stay
Of course. I like to bring my beautiful, sweet, experience to my Chinese, friends and family members.
All right, thank you so much. Thank you for watching us. We'll see you again on Monday with the single edition of the show. Have a safe weekend. Good night.